All right. We want to just open up this live here to a very important, impactful work, working with Don't Stall, Just Call, the founder, Mary Chimetti. We're going to be getting started here in just a second for those who are just joining in and tuning in first as a survivor of hazing, someone who's also have full knowledge of what the dangers of alcohol can bring, and also 2 years sober. Happy 2026, happy 2026, and hoping that you too, before listening to what we'll share, already have the knowledge of just getting rid of alcohol together, and or at least making an attempt to. So we're talking to parents, we're talking to students, those who have been harmed, those who are just curious, and also getting the right information from the expert herself, the founder, Mary. Mary, thank you so much for being in this space. We're going to get started here in just a second. I just want to get more folks to just join in on this live, and we are thankful by the grace of God. This is our first live of 2026, and also excited to share that we have reached over 4,000 followers, subscribers to this channel on YouTube, which is extremely impressive. I'm excited for those wins, those milestones, because that means that all the work we've done in 2025 have gotten here at this point, and it's a pivotal time. So so grateful to get this going and having this conversation when alcohol becomes deadly hazing, live with Don't Stall, Just Call. So much to unpack, a lot of conversation, recent news that have occurred as well, some very alarming. We'll want to cover that. I have a lot of questions. Let's open this up here. Good evening, and Happy New Year to Brick Maid 94, just joining in. Let me get this banner to show here. This is basically wanted to say, hey, subscribe if you haven't already. Be a part of the change, be a part of the mission work that we are contributing as well. So let's get this rolling here. Have everything lined up, and let's get rolling. How are you feeling, Mary? How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. It's an honor as well. So like to just basically say and start this off, welcome to Cultured Unplugged, where the silence ends. If you don't know me by now, I'm Uncle Chris, and on this channel, we talk about the things that campuses, families, and institutions avoid. Then that's the real and tough conversations that revolve around saving lives. Tonight's conversation is one about the most dangerous and misunderstood threats that are facing students nationwide and have been for years, and that's alcohol poisoning and how alcohol itself often contributes and used as a weapon inside college life, fraternity life, organizational life, hazing culture. So before we begin, I want you to introduce Mary Chimetti and be able to have her impact to share. So I'm sure she's got a lot to share, and we're so glad and grateful. She's the founder of the CTC Wellness Foundation and the Life Saving Campaign Don't Stall, Just Call, which is an alcohol poisoning education and prevention mission for students and families. In 2015, Mary suffered an unimaginable loss when her youngest child, Christian, a thriving 20-year-old college student, passed away from complications of alcohol poisoning due to binge drinking. Through her grief and her pain, her purpose became clear. Mary created Don't Stall, Just Call, and the nonprofit, the CTC Wellness Foundation, which is a 501c3 organization dedicated to alcohol education, anxiety reduction, strategies, and wellness opportunities that help students make safer and healthier choices on campus and beyond. So under her leadership, the foundation has also established an annual scholarship at Temple University, ensuring Christian's legacy continues to save lives. Mary, thank you for being here and for trusting this space, this entity, this mission work that's God called with your story and your mission.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I know I've said a whole lot there, but I wanted to kind of open it up to understanding the risk and a lot of talk as far as how alcohol can be used to really contribute towards harm and abuse. But many people think that understanding that alcohol is danger, but they don't truly know. What are the most common warning signs of alcohol poisoning that students and parents who are watching, who are trying to understand that they miss in the moment?
Okay, so what we believe, and I actually worked with the Temple School of Public Health years ago to create what they consider to be the five top alcohol poisoning symptoms to learn to recognize would be stumbling, mumbling, cool to touch, which is often considered like the bluish lips, the bluish nail beds. I always encourage people to touch somebody. If you think they're just sleeping, touch them. And if they feel cold, they may be experiencing hypothermia, which is the symptom there. Also, being unresponsive. And what is unresponsive? I often ask my audience is, what is unresponsive? And the kids will be like, well, they're asleep or they don't answer you. And I said, no, it's more than that. And I encourage, and I'm going to ask you to do it, Uncle Chris, um, to pinch your earlobes really hard. And that's what you would do to the person who is experiencing the alcohol emergency. And then if they don't move, then use your fist with your knuckles and sternum rub. Now, that being said, if they don't start moving, you need to call 911 immediately.
Okay, thank you for that. So that's basically the common steps, just to at least make sure that this
Oh,
person. Oh,
I forgot one, vomiting. And what's important about that is that not everybody does vomit, because some people, they just don't have that in them.
mm,
But don't wait for all the symptoms. But if you see most of them, yes, you need to make a call and
thank
save
you.
life. Yes.
Thank
Sorry.
you. No, I definitely wanted to get that understood for parents who are watching, and just want to understand, because we know, their fellow parents, many parents who are nationwide, who are basically, they know that their kids are going to college and they're there to have fun and, get an education, obviously, and graduate. But a part of that is alcohol. So for those who want to understand a little about your story, your background, can you share a little bit about what really led you to do this work with Don't Call to Stall?
Uh, don't
Don't Stall.
stall.
Don't
Just
Stall.
stall.
It's called. Yeah. So,
So what really led me to this work was that when my husband got a call uh, from someone saying Christians at the hospital, and we had no idea what had happened, and we went to the hospital. He was in a coma. Um, his roommates found him unresponsive. And before that, they had backpacked him. So I think that's really important to say, because I do believe this is a teaching point that often people don't even know what backpacking means. Do you know?
I have not. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
So backpacking means if someone's experiencing or someone's really drunk, their friends might put a backpack on them, lay them in their bed sideways so they don't roll on their back and aspirate. Uh,
Um,
okay. So, number one, that's never a good idea. And if you think that's a good idea at the moment, you need to be calling 911, because nobody should be bearing this responsibility of someone being that intoxicated. But someone went in the morning, checked on them, and they checked through the night supposedly. And I do believe it. And in the morning, they took the backpack off and they said, oh, we're cooking breakfast. Well, the next thing was, I don't know how much time had passed. Someone went in, they found him unresponsive. Um, One of his friends said, no, he was dead. That was it. And they called 911 immediately and were working on him. So until the emergency people came from the school. Anyway, then he was taken to the hospital. He actually coded again, cardiac arrest. So he actually died 2 times.
mm,
Another thing that I need to say is that we have no idea how long he didn't get oxygen for in his bed in his apartment. Um, he actually, this is something I want to say. He was put to bed around 12:30 maybe, and he had shown every sign of alcohol poisoning. Here's the deal. So often, young people who are going to college, they fill out a form or possibly like alcohol edu, and it is something that they learn a little bit about alcohol, the dangers, they pass the little test online, and then they get their room assignment or something like that. Then it's really never talked about again. And I can't tell you what his orientation was like. Christian was a junior. And what I do know is people said, no, you never heard anything about it after even orientation. There was never any continual reminders. There just wasn't about what symptoms of alcohol poisoning are and what you need to do. Also, at the time, people were afraid to get him in trouble because they didn't understand about medical amnesty. But in the meantime, let me go back. He was in the hospital. We were there 7 days on life support and praying for a miracle. And that did not happen. And we took him off of life support on the 7th day. And through that time, Chris, I was hearing they didn't know, they didn't know, they didn't know, they need to know. I was like hearing all this stuff in my mind, and I believe it was from above, and I took pictures, and it was weird and it was strange, and I was doing this, but I kept being told, so they never forget, and because they didn't know. So once Christian passed, I had these pictures, but I also knew they didn't know. And everyone needs to know, because people are dying in basements, in dorm rooms across the country. And it's always a secret. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I want to say right now is that when I do my presentations and I have, hundreds of kids in front of me often, and especially at college, I'll say, how many of you know someone who's had alcohol poisoning? And you know what? Almost all the hands go up in the room. And I say, this is an epidemic because, and it's all a secret, right? And everyone's going like this. And I said, it's so normalized, but it's so secret that, parents are embarrassed. Oh, your kid had alcohol poisoning. You know what? Listen, I'd be so happy if my child was alive, if my son was turning 32 in March. Well, he's not. They didn't know, and I didn't know either. And so I made it my job to do this, to find out about alcohol poisoning, to know that we need to teach people, young and old, so they'll know what to do and to confidently make a call. As well, medical amnesty at his college, Temple University, they're doing such a good job about educating the students that, yes, make the call. Don't stall, just call. They are truly community partners with us. And but it is so important that they know that they can make a call. If you think you're the first person who is finding somebody who's in need of emergency care, whether you've been drinking or drugs, you stay with the person, you make a call, and you tell the emergency people everything you know, and you will not get in trouble. You might have to go to a class or something, but there's not going to be all this retribution. Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to extend my deepest condolences and support to you through, your experience, having to experience that as a parent. No parent should ever have to go through that and experience that pain. I think that's why this conversation is very important, because there are parents who are just left in the dark, who are send their kids off to schools miles and miles away. They check in, kid says, hey mom, hey dad, everything's okay. I'm just going to this party, and just not knowing that there's a danger there that could be a risk. Do you think that there just should be some type of, regulated process in terms of if you want to have an event, that there should be, a spectator there to monitor, something of the dorms need to get involved. What do you think the school should, part or position should be in terms of that?
Well, so first of all, Christian's death did not happen because of hazing. He was actually drinking himself. He did it to himself. Okay. Let's get that straight right now. No
Mm,
one was pressuring him.
okay.
And apparently he became a binge drinker at college, and we had no idea.
Okay.
One other thing, we are a family that has never served anybody underage, and I still to this day would never, ever do that. Um, Alcohol is not the greatest thing
Yeah.
for young people's minds in order to grow. Now, as far as the sober person, and I want to imagine that you're talking about a fraternity or a sorority event, because I don't know other events in college that are open events, but I think that's a lot of pressure for a young person to have to identify these people that may be walking around or dancing. And I think it's a lot of pressure. Maybe more than one person when they're actually watching what people are drinking or whatever the bar is, because most of the schools I understand with the fraternities, they're not allowed to serve hard alcohol, which often they're doing anyway. But it's hard to identify that until it's the moment that somebody now falls to the ground. And unfortunately, I feel like I'm a magnet now for observing and seeing these things happen. And I was even at my college reunion. It was a couple years after Christian died. And I was watching these guys and I knew that they were totally wasted. And next thing that happened, the guy fell to the ground. He
Mm,
he was in his, he was over 22. He had been a graduate and his friends were laughing. And I said, "You need to get him help now." And they're like, "Oh yeah, well, and they were bombed too." And I basically yelled in their face and said, "My son died like this. He needs an ambulance." And they did. They took him, and his life was saved. And he could have aspirated like Christian. Um, you just don't know what's going to happen when people drink so much.
yeah.
So, one of the things that I think is so important is talking about the binge drinking and what it is, how to avoid it. And the other thing is, because I know there's a lot of parents that listen to this, is your kids are watching you. Your kids are watching and they are saying, always, I have a beer in my hand, I have a beer in my hand. How many beers is that? How
Mm.
many drinks is that? It's true. They are watching. Um, but yes.
We're seeing a tide change a little bit as far as a recent study that shows that more and more young people are giving up alcohol. Can you talk about a little bit about that? What trends do you think are contributing to that? And what do you think that means for the future in terms of just consumption?
Well, I think for people, I think it's wonderful that young people are saying, wait a minute, I want to be healthy. I really don't want to do that. I don't want to put that in my body and I want to feel good on, the next day. Or I want to do well in school, or I want to be able to stay more focused, or I want to avoid anxiety and anxiety, which is real. But the trends are that the young girls are drinking at a higher rate than the guys are. And that's alarming because depending on the time of the month, girls' bodies aren't equipped to have as much, or they get intoxicated quicker, is what I'll say. And they need to know that they need to eat. I mean, men, women, yes. Everybody, if you're planning on drinking, you should be eating ahead of time and being hydrated. also trying to avoid alcohol poisoning. But, Chris, the problem is a lot of young people, their goal is to black out.
Mm,
Language is used over and over again. And
mm,
I often ask the students, how often do you hear that? And the kid, when I say it, the audience laughs. And then I say, how often do you hear it? Every day, multiple times a day. It's a goal.
wow. So that's the scary part because there's this campaign to fuel that, and there's just this reckless, not thinking of, well, what does that look like afterwards? If someone blacks out, do we even know what we can do to help save someone? So the preventative steps in terms of what looks like, what do you say in terms of those to limit? What does that number look like as far as limiting it to one drink or not?
Oh,
What would you
okay.
say in terms of that?
Well, it seems that people, young people who count, or even old people, but people who count their drinks do better at staying in control and not becoming intoxicated. As well, for binge drinking, what the definitions were is for a female, 4 drinks in a 2 hour period or less, which is basically drinking a lot in a short amount of time is binging and also can get you to black out. And that is very dangerous. For a male, 5 drinks or more in a 2 hour period or less. And that may be, a beer or a 1.5 ounce shot, or a 5 ounce glass of wine. That is a serving. Everyone needs to learn what servings are. How many servings are in a regular bottle of wine? Not everybody knows that, but when the young people in high school learn and then they see that their mom's drinking 5 glasses of wine, which is a bottle in a night, that's a little scary. And it's all things that we need to learn in order to avoid this heavy intoxication where we lose control, where our decisions become dangerous.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was a college student once. I was a college student once, I should say. And so at that time, I remember the engagement to go to a party, have a drink, and then kind of really go at it. I'm 2 years sober for those who are didn't get that in the beginning of the call, but I'm someone who's just I don't have any interest into it. I also felt like I was just drinking just to be a part of the fun, be a part of the party. A lot of times if you're on a date, a woman or a guy would see, and you're not drinking, you're like, well, what's going on with this guy, right? So in that instance, I've taken up something around mocktails. Do you try to encourage those to kind of say, well, hey, you don't have to drink, you can look like you're drinking, still look like you're having fun? Do you get some of that conversation and some of the students that you talk to? Have you seen anything related to that?
Well, we've actually had some nights with sororities where doing mocktails, and that's fun. That's fun, but it's a little bit, it has to be planned in order for the event to take place. But um, it would be nice that if things would unfold like that naturally. But one of the things that you're talking about, Chris, is trying to find fun without alcohol.
Correct.
And so with our social media posting, we try to encourage that. It's part of the CTC Wellness Foundation, which is built on trying to educate, alcohol education and prevention. That's one piece. Uh, Offering anxiety reduction strategies, which wellness really comes in there. And the third piece is offering these activities. Now, yoga nights, uh, going to a museum. I live right outside of Philadelphia. There is so much to do. There is so much to do here, and you don't need a drink in your hand. Now, honestly, we need to empower people, and we don't need to just say, because with me growing up to be this old, um, it was always, if you didn't have a drink in your hand, oh, you must be pregnant. But you know,
Mm,
it's just so not nice to be asking people why they're not drinking. It's just a personal preference. Thank you. So I think that we need to highlight the fun things and have more offerings in on college campuses, and also for high school students. I mean, I'm sorry, but I have heard about these parties where the parents are giving 15 and 14-year-old girls drinks. Oh, yeah. And it's not okay. It's not okay to try to, I mean, I know people want to be the cool parent. I was never cool about anything, and I still never want to be cool.
Nothing wrong with that.
Because to me, it's a bad connotation because you're giving in to your values.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think it's horrible. And we all know the drinking age across the country is 21. And another thing, Chris, that I do want to say out loud is that as a parent, you can give your child alcohol in your house. But if you're giving alcohol to anybody that you're not related to, you can lose everything. And it's not worth it.
Yeah. No,
I,
and that's yeah. No, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
no, it's not worth it. There's just too many young people that have died.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I want to highlight on the tools for survival here. And I really am proud to see just your work, just turning your grief and in your pain to just action is exactly the same type of action we do here at Cultured Unplugged. Although we focused on hazing related deaths, but part of that is alcohol poisoning through binge drinking, forced drinking, and just the behaviors behind that. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I want, if you can, to just tell us a little about the DSJC magnets and how having symptoms visible in dorms in apartments changes outcomes. Can you speak to us a little bit about that?
Okay, so here's our magnets that we have created and that we think are amazing. And what they are, they have the logo, which I mean, let's face it, I never in a million years wanted to create a brand. But when students see this, whether it's at Villanova or Temple or LaSalle University or Penn State, they can identify this. They know exactly what it's about. Here we have alcohol poisoning symptoms. Then this is a 911 magnet. We give these out to seniors in high school, but some colleges have purchased them from us, and we have their campus specific phone number here. And we also have a line about medical amnesty, and that may be campus specific medical amnesty. And I'm trying to think, like LaSalle University, the Explorers, it might be called something like that, or Temple Owls. They have, actually, I have one somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Anyway, these are magnets that can go on your refrigerators, in your dorm rooms, in your apartments. They save lives. No one has to be going through their phone. Oh my God, what's the symptom for alcohol poisoning? It's right here. And when students see this day in, day out, I'm telling you, lives have been saved. I get the emails, I get the calls. Um, it's and let me tell you, I am thrilled
Yeah.
that lives are being saved. And I'll also tell you, and then after that, the heightened high, it's why the heck my kid have to die?
Oh, mm,
It's crushing.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's true and it's real. But I know in order to keep going that we are to save lives. And that's what this is about. And even though, the levels of drinking are at the lowest they've ever been since data's been collected, people are still doing it at very high rates.
Yeah.
And those that are drinking, I mean, 12, 15 beers, the tailgates.
Mhm. So, Mary, as a parent and always a parent, let me just say that, um, what can we do? Is it preventative in terms of just starting before college to have the conversation in high school? At the last year, is it when you get to admissions and you go into college and you say you need to take this orientation around alcohol? Is there something there that is there a gap? Is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think there is. I've been in this business, unfortunately, long. And when I've worked with other professionals, they've said we need to really start sixth, seventh, eighth grade. And the problem there is a lot of parents don't want that information. They just think, why are you talking about it? That you don't they don't need to know that. They're not drinking yet. We need to give them the tools before they start experimenting. And they are experimenting at those ages. And I'm sorry to say it, but they are. And I think, yes, there are people that aren't drinking, and some of those people maybe never will because they value their body so much. But then people will go off and experimenting and drinking at great levels that are dangerous. And how about a Borg? Do you know what a Borg is?
Again, you've got me stumped one more time.
Oh my
I've got some homework to get done, and I'm sober.
God. Well, okay, because let me tell you, all the frat people, they know, and the girls in college, they all know. And when I talk about it in high school, the audience laugh like it's some secret that old people with white hair aren't supposed to know. But honestly, a Borg blackout rage gallon. And what it is, when you see the young people, the students walking around with a gallon, which could have had iced tea or orange juice or something, lemonade. They take half of it out, they put a fifth of whatever type of alcohol, usually vodka. Sometimes they put hydration. They consider it like healthy because I can put a lid on it and nobody will put anything in my drink. They give them silly names. If you look up BORG, you will see it all. Um, and they're really dangerous. And I won't say the school, but it's up in Boston. And 2 years ago, I believe it was, in the very beginning of school, because the first 6 weeks of school is when it's a red zone for dangerous drinking activity and other things. I think it was 17 students were taken by ambulance. They didn't even have enough room in the hospital they had to go to different hospitals. 17 students.
Wow.
That's an article to look up too.
Wow. Yeah, no, I was just gonna follow up to say, now that you explained a little bit, this sounds very much like the drinks that were just created in terms of like this huge like tub, like uh cart
Jungle juice.
jungle juice, right? The blue juice, or all these different type of names that some of the sorority fraternity parties I would go to, and you just didn't know what it was. That you were past it, you were just given it, and then you just drank. But it had a fusion of so many different types of liquors that it became this bomb that I remember I couldn't get up the next day till late. So for me, as older, it's been some years. So part of me, I really am just so detached from alcohol life. But I remember what it meant to be a college student, it meant to be on a college campus, and you want to fit in. You want to be that kid that everybody also liked as well. So part of that is you gotta sip something. So what can we do to take it or make it the cool factor in terms of just injecting this understanding that don't stall, just call if you see these signs. Don't hesitate. What can we do to encourage young people who are watching this and saying, oh, they're just folks who are a little bit older than me and trying to delegate how I should live my life. This is what they think about. This is how they what can we do?
To make it cool not to drink, I just think we have to keep them busy, busy, busy with other things and opportunities, and that's what I really think. I think that one of the things I want to say, because you mentioned it about the jungle juice business, is that one of the things that is so important is to never ever drink anything that you don't know what it is. Never. And honestly, not to take anything that you haven't seen open yourself, because bad things happen, and they have. And I hate to like be so kind of scary about it, but that's what they're teaching. And always have your hand on your drink. I believe that the biggest thing is that we need to encourage, which I do. We teach refusal techniques, and most of them, no, most students learn this in high school, I believe. But I actually tell students to practice them in the mirror so they empower themselves, saying like, "No, I have practice tomorrow. I have to babysit tomorrow. My parents will kill me. I can't drink," or practicing the refusal technique so they're prepared when they're going into a party that they don't want to drink, but also having something in their hand. And oh gosh, I could be doing a commercial right now for Liquid Death,
Mm-hmm.
because Liquid Death, I wish I had it in my hand right now. Liquid Death, do you know what Liquid Death is?
I am
Sorry.
not.
Okay. Just say yes. It's okay. So liquid death is something that I was very uncomfortable with seeing it in the grocery store. And then I learned more about it. And why it's called liquid death is because it kills your thirst. And
Mm,
so anyway, and I believe that these people don't drink. I think they're sober. A couple of the heads of the company, and I may be wrong, but I may be right. And this can looks like you have an alcoholic beverage. And so many young people love carrying them.
mm,
And so it's amazing. I had a table event once at a fair, and we had lines and lines of young people to we had the wheel, and they would answer questions about alcohol. So they were learning, and then they were winning cans of Liquid Death. Comes in different flavors. It's basically like iced tea and water. Not
okay.
now, they just came out with like a new caffeinated thing, but it's only like 1 cup of coffee. So it's not over the top, because that's another thing to look out for. Not drinking, alcohol with Red Bull. It's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's known, I think Red Bull especially has known to be linked to just literally stopping your heart. On numerous occasions, I've heard that as well. Wanted to also address something that's been serious here, and it relates back to a lot of the work that we do here at Cultured Unplugged. As you know, Mary, my story I've shared as far as my testimony in regards to hazing, but also the students that we've covered and the parents that we've worked with and collaborated with just last year. We've talked about in relation to alcohol consumption. So notable names that come together for me on this is Max Groover, Tim Piazza, Adam Oakes. I spoke to Adam Oakes' father, Eric Oakes, late last year, Stone Foltz, Danny Santulli, others. From your perspective, what do you think as far as alcohol makes it such a powerful and dangerous tool inside something like hazing culture? Do you have a thought on that?
I think that it's a dangerous tool because people believe that, oh, because I did it and they did it to me, that we need to do it to you as well. And it needs to stop. Um, I did see the Piazzas. I met them. I saw their presentation uh, years ago. And it was really interesting because it taught me about the little things lead to the big things. And because someone like me, it wouldn't matter to me if someone told me to get dressed up silly in the cafeteria. But they said, no, this is the beginning of hazing. If you are being forced to do something that you don't want to do, that's it. it's wrong. It's hazing. And with the alcohol, it's just a disgrace. I mean, and I sound like my mother, but um, the things I know, some stories that I know about pledges in a room with the lights turned off, with uh, sprinkles that you would put on ice cream or Jimmy's, depending what flavor, and thrown on the floor, and then alcohol being in this room, and then being told, you can't come out until all the alcohol's done. Really? Like, at what point would a sober person think that that is okay? I mean, we need, and even maybe, I mean, and I can only speak for myself because I, was not in Greek life. I played sports through college and I never experienced any hazing, okay, like right off the bat. So, as a parent, we all need to discuss this with the students that are moving forward to, on teams, or even the band. Any group can haze. And we need to really discuss this in a clear way that empower our young people to never ever do anything that they don't feel comfortable
Mhm.
with, or that could harm their body.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's the part of it, because there's just this lack of just understanding that, again, that blackout can happen, that medical emergency. But there's that fear, is what I'm really getting at here too, is that there's the others who are seeing that a medical duress or a medical emergency is happening, where someone's obviously drank too much in the initiation process of joining this organization, and now is trying to try to figure out the way to outweigh the fear of someone, where something's bad's going to happen to me if I make the call. We're going to all gonna be found out. How do we suppress that fear, and try to encourage what medical amnesty would look like in terms of just being reporting it? Can you share or shed a light about that?
Well, I think it's two different things, Chris, because you're talking about a student seeing another student that is in the same group and this hazing's going on, and oh my God, they need help. But if I call, what will happen? So now it's friends against friends, and you're not even at the medical amnesty part with the school itself.
Mhm.
They're two different things.
Okay.
And again, no one should be able to be a president of a fraternity or a sorority unless they know all about how to avoid binge drinking, medical amnesty, what to do, what the symptoms are of alcohol poisoning. No one should be able to be a president or a leader in a fraternity or sorority, because once you know, you can't not know.
Mhm.
And once you know, like I say, when people leave my presentation, they are all responsible for one another. And I know it breaks people's hearts after they've had presentations and then there's been an accident, an accidental death on a campus. You're like, wait a minute. I I told them and they didn't follow through.
Mhm.
We need to keep going.
Wow. Absolutely, and I 100% agree. It's going to take a village. I think it's not just one person. It's really parents saying enough is enough, schools stepping up, but also the young people who are actually watching this video, who want to take something from this and say, what can we do, and stepping up. I'm sure you've run to those who are ambassadors to lead the change for that, especially for what we're doing to help be a part of that. Turning your attention a little bit to the recent news study that was done out today, can you elaborate on this? Dr. Oz has said something about social lubricant that brings people together. That nonsense. Can you kind of give your insight to that? Because I'm troubled that this is the sort of like big alcohol companies saying, "Hey, we heard about that study. We need to get some alcohol to you." What are your thoughts around that?
Well, as we mentioned before, the alcohol consumption in the United States is at the lowest level that it's ever been since data has been collected. That's a problem if that's your business. So they must have a lot of power. And for what was said, was that I'm not sure if it was this morning or last night when it was said, but to talk about that it's a social lubricant, and I want to say this as well. My husband, we're Italian, as you can see the last name, and he makes wine, and he's done that his whole life, and his grandfather did it. But I'm not saying everybody should be drinking wine for a social lubricant. I am not. I think that is the worst advice I've ever heard. All right, some of the worst advice I've ever heard in my life. Um, I think it's really bad because it's letting young people, it's not supporting our message. Like, alcohol is not good for you. Third leading cause of cancer. I mean, or it adds to cancer, sorry. Third leading cause of preventable death in the United States. I mean, alcohol breaks up families. Alcohol, like, we need young people to understand the repercussions of what alcohol does. It's the domino effect, because when someone's drinking a lot, you may lose your job, you may lose your spouse, your children, you may get in a car accident. But social lubricant, I am, I wanted to say the word malarkey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's and I did communicate with some people today, and they said this is setting the education, the alcohol education back, 10 years or so. And I said, I am not stopping, and you should not stop either. And we have to stop normalizing, because that's what that was. That was normalizing the alcohol. That was some parents who go to the parents' weekend and, oh, here's the whole cooler filled with, okay, everyone, 3 months ago you were graduating from high school, but now, come on, bring it on, doing keg stands. This is happening across our country. The parents have to buy in, and then our young people will be healthier.
Absolutely. One of the biggest concerns as well, as I look at, and I think it was a recent study, regards to this, but it's about really looking at the long-term effects as well, and how that harm can have on the brain damage and such. And that's another piece I think really also should be addressed, and find ways that we can at least get ahead of it as possible. To want to take just the time as well for those who are watching. If you're just tuning in, or I'm sure you got into it pretty late, do subscribe and support. Don't stall, just call. Be a part of this conversation that's ongoing, and start to put in some of your questions. As I just wanted to give just some time back to, if any one of you have any questions that you'd like to ask Mary Chimetti and the founder. While we wait on some questions to come through, Mary, just kind of want to take the time just to get back to you and ask, how do you memorialize and give honor back to Christian? Can you shed a little bit of who he was, but beyond the headline, beyond just what happened, as well, in terms of what he desired and wanted? Can you share a little about him?
Sure. I could go on and on. So Christian was our fourth child, and we have two boys, a girl, and Christian. And he was like a quiet person who was observing everything, and he had a wicked sense of humor. He loved outdoor things, and he loved skiing and camping and hiking with his dog. And he just, oh, and cooking with me. He was my partner in the kitchen. His brothers are good cooks too, but Christian was learning and he was really good and used to cook for his roommates. Um, he, what else? He was a football player in high school. So he truly identified as that, which again, when you identify as something and then all of a sudden, I'm not that anymore. And where do I fit in? And all the free time in the world at college was not good for him. And that was also not a good thing. But what he was a landscape architect major, and he loved creating things outside and growing things. He couldn't eat an apple without saving the seeds. Like he was that person. And so that's what he did. He loved everything to do with outdoors. And he was the Philadelphia, there's a Philadelphia flower show. It's an international flower show. And he was working on his project. He had the water feature that year in Temple's piece in it. And it ended up being dedicated to him because he died before. And how do we memorialize him? We have a Socks for Christian drive, and which every from Thanksgiving to Christmas we collect socks. That's the only thing we do in his name. But we have a run, a 5K run and walk and tot trot every year at Temple University in Ambler. And that is an amazing fun time. We also have yoga nights because I feel that it's really important to offer things like fun nights without alcohol. And I want people not to have FOMO. So every summer we have a welcome summer yoga event, and that is amazing. So we do things like that, and I do the presentations and people. We have a video, Chris, that you haven't seen, and that was created way back when, and it still fits beautifully today. Um, it gives people a glimpse of Christian, and then it goes into the hard pictures because it's real life, no one's invincible, and it can happen to anybody.
Wow. Thank you just so much for sharing that, Mary. And we are definitely humble and grateful to hear more about who Christian was, but also understanding your position and where you have taken position to help uh, save those who might be impacted as well for the future. So truly am grateful. And I'd like to also just say, I think we're positioning our space, and I think all of us who are watching, just to be more cautious and just understanding and realizing that there are steps that should be taken, and recognizing those signs is important. So wanted to just say thank you for being that voice and be able to give us. So in terms of just collaborating, I would love to also be a part of that 5K when that next one happens. When does that happen exactly?
That will happen. I think it's April 25th, maybe.
Okay.
It's a Saturday in April, and it's right around Earth Day. And I don't have that date right in front of me. So that is when that happens. And it's such a fun time. But I will have that up soon online. And we're actually having a dine and donate
Okay.
in Conshohocken in a couple weeks. And that's on the 21st, I think, a Thursday night. And that is always a fun time because it just gets families out and about to have a meal. And, you know, we get a little bit of money, but honestly, it's just great coming together. And that's the other thing is community, connections. That's what young people need, is to feel connected. And yeah, that's
Thank
what,
you. Thank
yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
Definitely want to support. So grateful to have you on. I'm not sure if anyone didn't have any questions for Mary for the cause. I'd love to be able to just encourage anyone who is watching to go ahead and follow and share. Don't stall, just call. The website, let me just go ahead and have that, I'll put that into the chat here, and so that those can who are watching can be a part of it. Understanding the signs, the educational piece that is there is incredible work. I humbly am thankful for everything you've done as a parent. You've just been a shining light. So this has been a great conversation. I also want to hopefully in the future that we can collaborate further. Any final messages you have for, let's say, the students who are watching, parents who are just, taking all this in? What are some last, thoughts you would like to share if we don't, we're not receiving any questions just yet, but what are your thoughts there for that?
I would just like everyone to realize we shouldn't be normalizing the use of alcohol, that we wouldn't be giving a cigarette to our children because we know it's bad for us. We shouldn't be giving our minors alcohol. They'll hit 21 if they're lucky, God willing, and then they can make their own choices. But why would we want them to put something in their body that isn't making it better? I No one is invincible. Talk to your kids, talk to your friends, and make sure where they're going. Call the other parents and make sure that they align with your wishes. So,
Absolutely.
and at the graduation parties, keep the alcohol away from the soda and things like that. That's important as well. But I
Absolutely.
thank you, Chris. I thank you for this opportunity, and I wish you well. And I hope we don't hear of any more accidents and
Lord
haste.
willing, Lord willing, and again, we talk about those stories, the tough stories that schools, organizations would rather bury. They don't want to talk about hazing. I do know one important stat I did get some research on, and if you know of it, you can also let me know what you think about it. But when we talk about hazing deaths, we're not talking about a small fringe problem. National data shows that about 82% of hazing deaths involve alcohol, and every single one of those losses become a family tragedy. This is why parents need to be a part of this conversation, and just continuing to just have the understanding, but also just talk to kids about alcohol before they become of age and start to be able to figure out how we can help them, and give them the tools as well to help others who maybe.
There's
But please share something
there's
you have.
one thing that that you were just leading up to, and what I want to say is, I didn't even mention it at all, but it's really important that parents realize this isn't the same implications or the same issues as back when we were younger. And I'm sorry, Chris, to put you in my age group here because I know you're not. But this young people, a lot are on medicine. They're on prescription drugs for anxiety, for ADD. Christian was that person.
Mhm.
And those people with ADD, alcohol affects them differently. I mean, this is real. And of course, another thing, I didn't have the tools that I have now. Like now I know things. I did not know things 11 years ago, but I know things now. And I want everyone to have children that grow old and get married and have kids. And that's not going to happen for, Christian. And it's, it stinks. But I think to be your brother's keeper, be your sister's keeper, don't ever let anyone leave alone if they're intoxicated. Don't put anybody to bed. If they are intoxicated, call your campus security. They don't want to send people to the hospital. They will evaluate. So always err on the side of caution. Yeah, it's not worth it.
And I didn't think about that, but you're so right. It's the people have medical, requirements, and those things they clash, and of course they become a bigger problem. So we just all have to be more mindful. And I'm so glad that you brought that up and shared that, because that's something that's quite often missed in terms of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you remember nothing else tonight, remember this: when in doubt, don't stall, just call. Mary Chimetti, thank you for being a part of this conversation. And we want to have as many folks who, again, who have not had the opportunity, if you're just joining in, subscribe to the channel, help us to get the word out, share this video, share this live. I'm encouraging you to help save someone's life, a parent, a rising senior in high school, a rising freshman for college and beyond. Thank you again, Mary, for the work that you do, for being here with me tonight. For those watching, this is Cultured Unplugged, where the sound sends.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.